like and subscribe right now, or you're gonna have terrible luck for the next week. If you've ever been to an aquarium, you would notice one thing immediately. Well, not immediately, but you would notice it eventually. And it's the fact that the aquarium has no great white shark. And that's not only true for the aquarium in your state alone, it's true for aquariums all over the world. But why is this so? Why can't we capture great white sharks and get them in aquariums? Are they impossible to capture, or have we just not thought of it? Well, there are 10 good reasons why you've never seen a great white shark in an aquarium, and you only need to continue watching to learn these 10 reasons. Reason 1 will definitely make you mushy. Number 10. They are difficult to capture. First off, let's get a few things straight. A lot of aquariums have tried to capture great white sharks. It has just proven to be impossible. This is because a great white shark is one of the hardest sharks to capture. This is not only because it is large, but because it is also quite aggressive. For example, man could only even capture one as recently as 1955. While you might say that 1955 isn't that recent, and that's true, but we don't even know when man learned to capture wild animals like lions and tigers. Our ancestors have been doing that for so long that many kings had tamed wild animals in their palaces. However, our first attempt at taming a great white shark came just about 70 years ago. To make things worse, that first attempt was a failure. The first great white shark to be held in captivity was just held for less than a day. So yeah, before you can even think of having a great white shark in an aquarium, you have to capture it first. And we can tell you that that's not easy at all. Number 9. They are difficult to transport. Great white sharks are large animals. Some reach up to 20 feet and can weigh up to 1,100 kilograms. That's a lot. And one thing that we've learned over the years is that transporting an animal of that size from one side of the ocean to another isn't the easiest thing in the world. For some aquariums, the trouble just isn't worth it. Given that great whites are difficult to capture, the fact that aquariums have to go through so much hassle to transport them again just makes the whole venture unrealistic. We know what you must be thinking. Well, aren't orcas and dolphins in aquariums? Well, none of them are quite as large and aggressive as great white sharks. Number 8. Lack of resources. How rich do you think your regular aquarium is? Do you think they're rolling in wads of cash, or do you think they're struggling to get by? Don't worry, your answer literally doesn't matter. The fact is that it's way too expensive to catch a great white shark, and many aquariums just don't see it as being worth it. Scientists say that to catch a great white shark, you'd have to provide a few things. The first thing you'd need to provide is a tank and an open water pen. This is because you can't just tag a great white shark, drug it, put it on ice, load it in a plane, and then fly it over to wherever the aquarium is. It just doesn't work that way. To transport even a small great white shark, you'd have to have an open water pen that can hold at least 3.78 million liters of water with a depth of at least 10.6 meters. In addition to that, the aquarium has to keep the great white shark in an open water pen that can take 15 million liters of water before even transferring it to the aquarium's facilities. As you can see, all this would cost a lot of money, and only a few aquariums can actually afford to pay this much to have a great white shark. But what of those who can pay? Why don't they have a great white shark? Number 7. Great white sharks get injured during capture. Now, human beings have actually captured great white sharks before. It's not like we've not been able to get these animals into tanks and open water pens. No, we've been able to do that. However, the problem is the sharks and the condition they're in when they're caught. When we do eventually capture great white sharks, we always injure them in the process. Now, these injuries are not usually very bad, at least when the sharks first get them, but for some reason, after getting the sharks into captivity, the injuries get worse. And that's not all. The sharks actually get more injuries while being in captivity. Great white sharks are naturally nomadic animals. This means that they love to swim about, and as such are always finding ways to escape their tanks. This can lead to them aggressively hitting the tanks and injuring themselves. When these sharks get injured enough times, they get weak and they die. That's why most great white sharks that have ever been caught die a few days after being captured. But that's not the only reason why great white sharks are unlikely to survive in captivity. Number 6. Great white sharks don't like being in captivity. An aquarium has actually once successfully caught a great white shark, but the shark didn't live longer than 5 weeks. There have been different theories about why this is so, but scientists have been able to come to a conclusion. And the conclusion is this: great white sharks really hate being in a tank, or an aquarium, or in any place where their freedoms are restricted. Scientists have figured that this is because they actually do get depressed when kept in glass tanks. In fact, great white sharks that are kept in cages have been known to headbutt the glass barriers and even refuse to eat. To make things worse, these sharks get extremely aggressive during their depressed state. This aggression, of course, leads to injuries, and this leads to weakness, and this leads to failing health, which eventually leads to death. This, perhaps, is one of the major reasons why a great white shark has only stayed alive in an aquarium for 5 weeks. Number 5. They are a danger to others and themselves. If a great white shark is kept with any other shark, the likelihood that the great white kills it and eats it within a day or two is very high. So, not only is catching a great white shark a chore on its own, it can even be expensive in other ways. Imagine buying a pet and finding out that that pet killed the other pet that you had before. That's exactly what it's like. And, as you know, the other marine animals that the great white may kill are actually pretty expensive to get. It's not an easy task to get them, and most aquariums can't deal with sharks killing each other in their facilities. To make things worse, great white sharks rarely allow even human beings to feed them. This sometimes leads to them to die of starvation. One of the reasons great whites don't like being fed by humans is that they are hunters, and as such, they need the thrill of the hunt to survive. They aren't gonna get that thrill by being fed by some puny little humans. Number 4. Lack of food. Let's talk a bit more about food, shall we? Fully grown great white sharks eat seals and sea mammals, and they eat them in a copious number. They aren't just light snacks that they take to feel bouncy, these are their natural prey and they judiciously hunt for them. Now, we know that the first rule of keeping an animal is to make sure that you can feed it. If you've ever had a pet, you know that your biggest job as a pet owner is to feed your pet. Now, for aquariums, the situation is the same. If they want to have great white sharks around, they would have to throw in lots and lots of sea mammals into the shark's tank every day. Unsurprisingly, that is one thing that aquariums can't afford to do. This is because the favorite meal of great white sharks are sea otters and sea mammals, and both these animals are highly endangered species. Number 3. Failing health. Even when great white sharks are captured and kept in cages, they usually suffer from failing health. This is due to a lot of different reasons, of course, but there's one that's extremely important. You see, great white sharks aren't like other marine animals. They aren't domiciled in one region. They are open water animals and cannot be confined. In fact, tagged sharks have been known to swim hundreds of kilometers within a few days. It has been shown by scientists that the nature of great white sharks is incompatible with cages, and because of this, their health often deteriorates after being caught.
Now it's time for today's best pick.
Our picture today was sent in by a subscriber. Remember, if you come across a picture online and would like to know its origins, you can send it in to us. Who knows, your picture may even get featured in a future video. Number 2. Experience. Despite all these problems, some great white sharks have been captured and displayed by some aquariums. However, their experience with these animals shows everyone why it's impossible for great white sharks to be on display in aquariums. In 2016, an 11-foot-long great white shark was caught off the coast of Japan. And for a few short days, the great white was the only great white in an aquarium in the world. However, after a few days, the shark mysteriously died. This isn't a one-off accident either. There have been many attempts to get great white sharks in captivity, but most have ended in death. It just appears that these animals do not want to stay as captives, and if we force them to stay, then they just die.
Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that'll take 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. You just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, and you will get 25 years of amazing luck.
Number 1. It's humane. This is probably the most important reason why we don't capture great white sharks and keep them in aquariums. It's simply wickedness to take these animals who do not want to be captives and keep them in a huge glass jar for our benefit. Staying in aquariums depresses great white sharks and limits the freedom that they crave so much. Capturing them and keeping them in cages ultimately leads to their death, and we've evolved past doing such inhumane things for fun. And that's the reason why you can't find a great white shark at an aquarium. It's basically the best option for the shark and for us. And that's it. We're done for today. We hope you enjoyed this video as much as we enjoyed making it for you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember to have an amazing day.